Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 37 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hey, welcome back to episode 37 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If this is your first time here, hey, what's up? Welcome. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for continuing on the journey with me. The Well Done Life is about building community, one voice at a time, women sharing their stories so that we can all grow, learn, and share together. So I am just so glad that you can join me this week. I hope you guys have been having a great week. I have some really cool guests that I can't wait to share with you. But before we get started, I definitely want to make sure it's been a crazy, crazy week with the debates and everything going on. And I have to make sure I give all praise and reverence to the first responders still out there battling COVID and to all of us who are wearing our mask and socially distancing and trying to be kind. Let's continue to do that. Tonight, President Trump and his wife were diagnosed, or today, with COVID-19. So I definitely send prayers to their family because no matter what, we may not agree, obviously, philosophically, but at the same time, I would never wish something like that on anyone. So I definitely send prayers to them. And at the same time, I send prayers to all of us within the nation. We all have to look at these opportunities as time to protect ourselves, as times to really take this seriously. We have to social distance. We have to wear a mask. And we just have to take care of ourselves. But anywho, enough of that. And I really, like I said, want to make sure I say thank you to those people who are out there on the front lines, the nurses, the doctors, all the people doing grocery delivery, the postal workers. This is the teachers, the parents, everybody, to us. Let's just stay strong and vigilant. So like I said, I have a few guests this week that I am so excited to share with you. Their names are Tee-Ta and Tiffany, and each of them are brand marketing divas in their own special way. But I came across them because they have been having some really honest conversations around race in America. And from a perspective of a Black girl and a white girl. And actually, their podcast is called Conversations with Tee-Ta and Tiffany, a Black girl and a white girl talking about Black girl and white girl stuff. So I wanted to bring them on because, like I mentioned, this is a crazy time. I mean, between COVID, we have social unrest, we have everything that's going on with the election. It's a lot. And I wanted to share this conversation with you because I think ultimately we had a beautiful conversation, but we really recognize that the root of change is going to start with us. It's going to be all of us leveraging our voices in a positive manner to really bring about change. And I hope that you're able to glean something from it. Tee-Ta and Tiffany, please introduce yourself to the Well Done Life audience.
Hey, I'm Tee-Ta, the Black girl. Woohoo! If you haven't figured that out by now.
And I'm the white girl, Tiffany. Pretty obvious.
You guys are too cute. That does not mean obviously. You'd be surprised. There might be a white girl out here with the name Tee-Ta and y'all don't even know it. So don't let that fool you.
Actually, there's a lot of Black girls with the name Tiffany too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so true.
You'll never know. So Tee-Ta and Tiffany, I'm so excited, like I said, to have you. I kind of will go back and forth in regards to questions, but I'm going to start with my first question for Tiffany.
Okay.
Tiffany, I know you're originally from Australia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to the U.S. and, how do you see it as opposed to being in Australia?
Oh boy. Okay. So I came to the US 7 years ago. Very simple reason. I just wanted to change. I love to travel. I love to live in different countries. I just wanted to spread my wings and see what I could create in the USA. The land of where dreams are made of, apparently.
Apparently. Oh, no, let me shush. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I came here because of that, and then the differences in compared to America and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's similar in a lot of ways. Western culture. Australia is a British colony, so it's got British tendencies. I think kind of like stiff upper lip and things like that. But Australians, for the most part, have grown up with a lot of American pop culture. So movies, music, sitcoms, always tapped into America. We're allies at war, right? So there's a lot of synergies there. And I had traveled to particularly New York quite a lot with my previous company that I worked at. And so kind of naively when I moved here, I thought, I know America. I got America. Like, I'm familiar with it. And it wasn't until I actually moved here. I was in Brooklyn first, actually, Pamela, and then LA. Yeah. And then LA. And I moved here. I was like, oh, it is different. And again, sometimes it's subtleties like different sense of humor, obviously history differences, but similar as well. Like, our podcast is around really dismantling racism and understanding differences. And the British went to Australia and they wiped out most of our Indigenous Aboriginal people, and there's a lot of racism in Australia as well. So there's similarities that way too.
Okay.
A lot of similarities that way. Okay. So actually being in America and becoming more aware of American history and systemic racism and things like that has made me actually go back and really look into my own history in Australia as well. And there's a lot of similarities around, what we were taught in school, right? White history,
right.
Those sort of things. So there's differences, but there's a lot of similarities, say, as compared to really different cultures compared to countries that I've been to, like, Vietnam or Japan or, Southern Africa and places like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for Tee-Ta, how about yourself? Where are you from in the U.S.? And how did you and Tiffany connect?
Okay, yes. So I'm from the Seattle, Washington, the Pacific Northwest. I live in Orlando, Florida now, so completely opposite polars, right? Mm-hmm. Literally too, and I'm talking about because, in Orlando, at least there's 50% brown people, whether that makes up Black, Africans, islanders. Yes. Whereas in Seattle, it's probably 89% white. So, so that was a very interesting, growing up there was very interesting. But so Tiffany and I met in Orlando, actually in 2018 at a conference, and we were pretty much locked in that conference for 3 days. So I think that second day, going on the third day, we were like, let's get off campus. We just sort of we met at the conference and we just kind of had a little bit of conversation, and she, lives in Austin. So I had, a car, and I was like, yeah, let's get off. Let's go eat somewhere. So we went to go eat, and then we were having a conversation, and she brought up a incident with one of her business partners, and her business partner happens to be Asian American, and she was saying, I don't understand why she got frustrated with me. All I said was, XYZ. I can't remember exactly what it was now.
I said, I don't see color.
Oh, yes. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was like, I don't know why she got upset. And I was like, well, this is why she got upset. Yeah. And then so I broke it down to her, and then we just continue to have a candid conversation. I can even see Tiffany's eyes just kind of was widen, oh my God, what else have I said and done? And so then she just started asking me these questions. She was just and that's where I can see the difference of, to be honest with you, from her being Australian white versus American white would not have had that conversation with me the way that we had. The candid conversation would have not transpired. I can tell you that.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. It's just wouldn't have happened. And so you guys just to make sure I understand, so you guys had just met and then you broke right into a race conversation.
Right into
it. And I think the reason why, and then on my end, the reason why I think it worked for Tiffany is because, honestly, believe it or not, it's because I was raised in Seattle. Having to be around white people all my life, being the only Black person in the classroom, mainly in the workforce, having to code switch, having to know how their mannerisms and how their attitudes. I know how to manipulate that too. I'm just, because I've been around it. So I wasn't, whatever Tiffany was saying, I wanted to make sure that I was real with her, but it wasn't affecting me personally. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't making me angry or upset, because I know how naive a lot of them and ignorant a lot of them have been or are, because of my experience around them and what has spewed out of their mouth during certain conversations when you really know they're just really naive. And not that, I love Tiffany, but that's why I think it worked, because she wasn't a white American, and I'm used to being around white Americans in a deep-seated way.
Looking back, she was so generous with the conversation we got into.
Right.
It was naive of me.
I can totally see that. No, and yes, because you come out, you're so you're innocent. You're not jaded. You're new to the country. You didn't know yet those things.
Yes, innocent, naive, stupid, whatever.
Definitely not stupid.
Honestly, I've been living in the country long enough, and I was living in LA. My previous job, I was really close to my boss. He was Black. I knew enough, but I obviously had to go on a pretty fast trajectory of wanting to learn more.
Well, I don't know if you knew enough, but go ahead.
Okay.
Pam,
yeah.
Yeah. This is Pam's show.
No, I wasn't, because I feel like saying I don't feel like that's stupid. I love that.
Okay.
That's honestly, I don't think that's. I think it might be like a little naive, but I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. The fact that you were so open to learning, I could see why you would be receptive to that, Tee-Ta. And it doesn't seem like you were offended at all, because that was going to be my next question. I mean, you weren't offended. Tiffany, did you feel offended when she kind of corrected you, or were you?
No, not at all. I was mortified. It was like a holy FEF.
She was.
Thing. What have I done? What have I said? It was just this whole uncovering. And again, Tee-Ta was just so generous.
To that point, when you mentioned that you were close to your boss before and she was Black, had you been closer to other Black people during that time that you would have those kind of conversations with?
Close, but never had those conversations, because again, naively, to me, if you're Black and you're American, if you're Asian and you're American to me. Honestly, that's just, that was my perspective. You've got an American accent, you were born here, you're American. Right. So I never ventured into those conversations with them, but certain things would happen. I had a women's community in LA, and a lot of people would say to me, wow, I love your community, it's so diverse. And I'd be like, what a weird thing to bring up, those sorts of things. But because I think, I don't know, it just timing is everything. It was perfect, and I wanted to go deeper into the discovery of it after that.
Yeah, I definitely think it was. And obviously having someone open as Tee-Ta to be able to have that kind of connection with is great. And it sounds like it really is benefiting all of us that you two connected, because you're having that opportunity to go into their podcast. I mean, Tee-Ta is a Black woman born in America. You do obviously understand the challenges of being Black American. How do you allow yourself to stay open to keep having those conversations? Because now there's a lot of dialogue around Black women, Black people in general, just being exhausted from having the race conversation. How do you keep yourself open to wanting to keep having it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Pam, because I was thinking about that the other day because the more there's stuff that I have to give myself breaks from social media because I think the more that you see how people respond to certain things and that you're like, what? You know, like especially like the white people on my friends who are my friends on Facebook that I wouldn't have realized that they would respond in a way or that they would dismiss or minimize really what's transpiring. So I think how I stay open, honestly, I think it's because I'm more conscious anyways, right? I'm just more of a conscious human being. And I realize that people have their lenses and some people just lenses are distorted. And so I don't really blame them. Like I don't allow them off the hook when I feel like maybe there needs to be some correction per se. But I think the reason how I can stay present in the conversations because I truly realize that person just is, again, just very ignorant, doesn't get it, probably has their own challenges, personal challenges that they can't work through. Because if you immediately are tagging on to fake news or tagging on to stereotypes and judgment without really truly understanding what's going on, then you're actually losing out on how to really live and losing out in beautiful relationships and conversations. So I think that's how I stay present is just knowing that I just need to pray for them. Knowing that they're probably internally really, 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 really challenged even more than I am as a Black American because they can't seem to even be able to understand or be able to even want to comprehend that racism does exist. So those people who just want to deny it and minimize, it doesn't affect me to keep moving forward because I just know that they're just broken. And I just, at the end of the day with those folks, I just pray for them, girl. That's all I can do.
Absolutely. And I totally can relate to that experience. Because even though I was laughing and joking when you were saying the land of the free, land of promise, America is all of those things. Right. It's just that for a Black American, our relationship with America is more complicated. That's what it's like an abusive relationship.
Yes,
really it is. If you're in an abusive relationship, I just keep coming at you and keep coming to you because I love you and I just want you to love me too. Even though you might slap me in the face tomorrow, I still want you to love me.
Wow.
So it's just the hardest part of it. But then to the flip of that, Tiffany, as you are becoming so open in your allyship and you are very honest on your podcast about your perspective and so transparent just a moment ago about how mortified you felt, not even understanding the context of not seeing color. How are you staying open to keep learning? And how are you dealing with some of the people that you may have in your life who you're finding out may not necessarily be the kind of people who understand this journey?
I'm going to be really honest because that's what we do and that's what our show is about as well, is that I don't have the grace and the patience that Tee-Ta has, that my Black friends have. I don't, because I'm still, honestly, I'm still, even though I've been on this journey probably, at least a year into, 6 years, right, but really kind of went deeper into it, let's face it, with the tipping point with George Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm still new to this. So I'm still in that place of anger and frustration and disappointment and embarrassment and shame and all the things. And so, for me, the learning is, right now I am immersing myself in Black culture. My boyfriend's Black. Okay. We've been together a year next week. And by the way, that was never intentional for me. I was never one of those white girls who was like, I'm going to get a Black boyfriend. Like it just just unfold all like Tee-Ta likes to claim that she converted me. It's so funny. She's like,
oh, but she got black.
I know, yes, I told her that a few times. I mean, she even bought a black car the other day, so.
So it's all black everything going on over here.
Yes.
Black on black over here. It's so funny.
Oh, man.
So there's ways that I keep learning through Tee-Ta, right? I'm so grateful that I've got her. I've got other black sisters in my life, girlfriends in my life that see the work that I'm doing. They see how intentional I am, and they'll share their perspectives with me. My boyfriend's really great because he actually tells me, go and research this, Tiffany. Go and watch this, Tiffany. But the way that I'm learning right now is that I'm immersing myself with him. This is the fun part of what we do in black culture. So we watch documentaries about rappers. You know, I watch everything on Netflix. Like if you turn on my Netflix, you would think I was black. Right?
Facebook
thinks I'm black.
Yes.
Facebook
thinks you're black. How does Facebook think you're black?
I got something, an email from Facebook about black businesses on Facebook. Instagram advertises me black makeup, black hair products, black everything. It's hilarious.
Welcome.
I love it.
Hey. Well, come on, we'll take it.
Yeah, they literally think she's black because she's talking
they do.
black
And I think
stuff.
that's a really important thing. Like we interviewed a friend of mine, a white friend of mine yesterday, and she said, I don't know black culture. She goes, I'm an American and I don't know black people. And I think the way that you do that is not only just go, oh, here's my token black friend, right? And ask some questions. You immerse yourself in it like you were an Australian, you know, moving to a country and really wanting to understand the culture. It's like get to know the people that live here. And I actually did the same thing when I went back to Australia just recently when I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. I watched every Indigenous, Aboriginal, Australian-made movie there was to re-educate myself on my own country, you know. Wow. But it's ongoing. It's having the conversations. It's being aware. And I do understand that I have a different insight because now when I move around, right, like we're in Texas.
Okay, right.
Right. So we're in the bubble right now. But when me and my boyfriend step outside the bubble, I'm instantly more aware because he's with me. Oh, wow. Let's just face it. There's truckers everywhere. Oh, my God, this whole town that we're in, there's no black people. Right. Okay. So there's that insight that I get as well that helps me on this journey.
I have to calm her down sometimes. I have to calm her down.
She does.
No.
Oh,
she will come and send me things and like, I'm going to respond this way. How do you, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Just, no. That's okay.
That's
let that one go.
That's what I was going to say. All Tee-Ta, my boyfriend, all my black friends, like you, Pam, what you just said, you've got so much grace and so much patience and just like, you know, someone keeps saying, you know, you're lucky we don't want revenge, right? We just want to be seen and be heard. And I'm like, but why people get so up in arms and so angry when black people are like, hey, this is what we want. And they get their guns out and and I'm like, the black people are so amazing. The black pride, like I learned so much from black people. Honestly.
I love the fact that you're immersing yourself in the culture because that's kind of, I think, part of the struggle. And Tee-Ta, you could definitely correct me. I think it's part of what you see now with everyone fighting about the 1619 project that the New York Times did, being included into education. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like what you were saying. If you're coming from Australia, you're trying to immerse yourself in American culture and to learn more about Black culture. We were brought here, born here, so all we've known is white culture, excuse me, and a small handful of Black culture, which really only extends as far as George Washington Carver, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X is only touched a smidge.
Touch.
They don't deal with touch like a brush. They don't deal with any of that, anything that is insightful. Whereas 1619 is really not insight. It's not an insightful kind of thing. It'll piss you off, but it's more so talking about how, if you think about it, the foundation of our country was founded on slavery, capitalism, which is what runs this country. We are the first forms of capitalism, and we have to all address it and not have shame behind it. I think that's where you see white people up in arms personally about it. There's that shame, and I understand that shame. I would love to say that you shouldn't be ashamed that your ancestors were that way, but you actually really should.
Right.
And then you leverage that shame. Instead of it being fear, you leverage it to be like you, Tiffany, where you're so open and you're trying to learn. I mean, heck, you got Facebook and Instagram sending you black ads, girl. You are digging deep into the culture. Yes. You know, I just am amazed. And that makes me wonder, with that eagerness that you have, and especially with you, Tee-Ta, how has that deepened your friendship? Your connection?
Girl, it's not even friendship. It's sisters. It's family. Like, it's deepened so much to a point to where we disagree on things. Like, there's times when we've had to have conversations about like how we're going to move forward with something, or we might have a different ideology, but there's no fear of like, oh my God, this relationship's gonna crumble. You know what I mean? So it's like it's like such family. You know how you have those family members that you even like, oh God, that not that Tiffany's like this, but that person's so dysfunctional. But you're like, okay, but they're gonna be in my life, so I'm just going to whatever how I need to connect and relate with them. I'm gonna do it like that. Not that Tiffany's like that, but that's where our friendship is, our relationship is. I could. Maybe there's something I could say in text that could be like, Tiffany, look at it and be like, oh, but it's not like 10 days will go by and we won't hear from each other. It might be just like, okay, let me process this and see where they're coming from this other perspective, and then continue to have a conversation. So that's how it's deepened to where it's just, I'm expected to be in her life for the rest of my life. I better be her. If she got children, I better be the godmom, the auntie, all that. Okay. So I think it's really deepened our relationship to where there's no concerns. Like there's no worries. Like we know we can work through anything regardless.
I think that's awesome. I do. I really think that's awesome, because I think that's also what lends to the magic of your podcast. Because when I was listening to your episode, the one on allyship had me laughing, because Tiffany, you are so fired up. I literally feel like, girl, you probably gonna be at the number one person at the rally with the most time. Like, look, I am pushing through, and I love that about you. And then Tee-Ta, I understand, because I think I'm more like you too. That balance, like, girl, don't burn it down today. Yes, I'm mad too, but don't burn it down today. It's going to be okay. Yeah. Don't be down. So then with that, how are you guys feeling about going into the election, and how are you integrating that into your podcast? Because, the perspectives are getting a little crazy out in the streets.
Well, we haven't. Again, like so much, We feel, we recorded a podcast yesterday. We didn't bring it up because, like, I mean, God, what did you say?
Eventually we know it's probably we kind of touched. I think our guest touched on it.
I think she did.
Brushed on it. But I think Tiffany and I were like, okay, we just breathe. Let's just breathe, and we'll come back to that. But I mean, Pam, okay, so this is the thing. This is the thing. So as we all know, I, having some medical stuff. So actually, I did mean to watch it, but I think God was like, I don't need any blood pressures. I don't need anything going up on you, because I literally fell asleep before it came on the couch. And then I woke up and it was over.
Oh, that's
and I was like, oh, dang. But then I went to my Facebook. I was like, let me hop on Facebook. I was like, I know exactly how this debate went.
Yeah.
All the different perspectives from everybody who was watching the debate. So I already knew exactly what had transpired. I'm not surprised how it transpired. And I'm in this other conversation, and we did talk about it last night, and everyone broke down their perspectives, and they had their perspective on, of course, when Biden was trying to say certain things, then, I guess Trump was being kind of that kid over talking and just yelling, so that people couldn't hear the truth. Mm-hmm. And then Biden is like me too. So and unfortunately, when I say he's like me, people think he stutters, but I don't think it's a speech impediment. I am on the spectrum and I process differently. And if I'm in an extremely stressed like environment, I can't organize my thoughts to get out what I need to from my understanding, it sounds like Biden might have had challenges having debating with Trump, because I'm sure with Trump just boo, 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 and everything, he's probably was just like, oh my goodness, I can't get my thoughts processed, because they said it sounded like he was kind of like scripted, but he was probably, because he had to go in there more scripted to make sure he can stay on path. Tiffany knows this with me. Like, that's where she can help me when we're having those stressful conversations. I can but it's just because of the way I process. So debate for Biden might not work very well with a man like Trump, but I hear that they're doing some different things. They're going to do like some town halls where other people can ask the conversations. But y'all, I don't know how they're going to move forward with the debates with them, because if that's how it's going to play out, it's just American loss. The who lost is Americans. We lost because we didn't get a debate. We didn't get to hear anything really about, maybe policies or about how they would want to move forward to move America forward, because it was just chaotic, right? So
right. Yeah. And unfortunately, and Biden does stutter. He actually has a stuttering impediment.
Okay.
And so I watched it. Feel good you fell asleep. But I agree with you 100%. I thought America lost. And I didn't think that it was a lot of opportunity to talk about. Race was not addressed. And with everything just continuing, it was addressed, I heard, for like 103 seconds. That somebody counted, which was scary to me that you actually spent it counting. But okay. But yes. So there wasn't really a lot of discussion about it. Tiffany, did you see it at all or have any thoughts?
I watched it. There was a lot of like in our house. Oh my God, did you just hear that? Oh my God, he just said that. Can you right? So there was a lot of that. But honestly, what happened was what I thought was going to happen. Exactly. On both sides. Trump was a bully. Biden was, yes, he was playing to his audience, which is clever, actually. It's strategic. The only thing he had going from was he knew how to turn to the camera and say the people, right? But as far as substance and anything else that came out of it, no, we don't know what they're going to do to really change the face of the nation moving forward, either of them. I think, you know what though? The fact that race was even brought up, yes, it wasn't brought up enough and the conversation wasn't long enough because Trump showed his true colors again.
Absolutely.
But honestly, it was like, oh my God, finally, they're bringing this to the debate. You can't hide this stuff anymore. It is in the forefront. They brought this to the American presidential debate. The question was asked, hallelujah, which is sad, which makes me sad. It makes me glad and it makes me sad. It's like this contradiction. And I always talk about, you asked me earlier about America, the differences. I feel like it's such a land of contradiction.
Oh, gosh.
There's just such polarity, extreme polarities in this country.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, it is. the nature of the beast. I always say one thing about Trump. I don't, obviously, I'm not a fan at all, and I don't support him, but I will say he is the most polarizing president in history because he will be the one who have finally uncovered the veil of racism.
Yeah.
That is, you know, because like it or not, we all know we knew it was going on, but now it's front and center again.
God.
So now we maybe can finally deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he, you know, hey, he's actually helping out a lot in many regards, right? Because he's able to unveil the truth and people are able to really see. And even on my, the posting yesterday, I was actually kind of surprised how a lot of white Republicans came out and was like, wow, I cannot vote for, I vote Republican. I don't vote Trump.
Right.
And for him not to denounce white supremacy, they're like, I can't even move forward with voting for the party. And so that was actually kind of like, okay. You know, I was like, this is shocking. This is good to see. This is good to understand that there are Republicans who truly are not just, how do I say, they're not just brainwashed by all the policies or just because, or just the behavior action of Republicans, if that makes sense, or like at least the president who's a Republican, you know, and his people. So that was, that was encouraging because I'm like, okay, so that's good to see. But then on the other side, there was a real, like the people who are coming out, I think it will get a little bit worse before it gets better. There's real signs that actually here in not Orlando, but Florida, Pam,
right,
where it said pay cash for a, you know, in any condition. And this is like real signs, like they're not.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I live in an area of Orlando called Ocoee. So Ocoee, I didn't know when I moved to this area, but the Ocoee massacre, like literally obliterated all of the Black community in the city of Ocoee. They actually did not have the first Black person who was alive to vote and lived in Ocoee until I believe, again, 1984. I can't remember specifically the date the Ocoee massacre occurred, but it was considered actually the bloodiest day in American history, next to I believe what happened in Nebraska when Black Wall Street was decimated as well.
No, Tulsa.
So in Tulsa, it's amazing how Florida does have quite a history.
Oh, and Rosewood.
Oh yeah, Rosewood.
But
totally.
So we're seeing, like you said, it's so polarizing. So we're seeing some white people who are like, oh my goodness, okay, I can't. But then we're seeing the Proud Boys, for lack of a better word, starting to post these little signs and stuff like I'll pay cash for them in any condition. Like,
and see, that's to me where your voices become so even more powerful because, like I said, your podcast is so raw. It is so open and transparent about having real, honest conversations around race in America. Do you feel like it really becomes more of the responsibility of us to try to change the scope of racism in America versus the government?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because this is 2020, and how long do we have the government for? And we still in this predicament and going downhill. Yeah. And we were just talking about this yesterday on our podcast with Aaron. We're saying that we truly believe it's going to be women. And I believe that it's going to be the white women and in partnership with the Black women who are really going to change. Whereas Black women have behind the scenes, like Aaron and Tiffany were able to say yesterday, like, we stand on your guys' shoulders. Like, we've been put in positions and promotions and have opportunities because of the work you guys have actually done behind the scenes. Like, you know, our ancestors and our Black women and stuff. And so now their eyes are widening and opening. And just like Glenn Doyle had made a huge campaign about that, right? About like Black women and women of color have paved the way for us white sisters, let me tell you. So it's time for us to bring them up along so that they can get the same pay, they can get the same acknowledgement, same validation, and so forth. So it is us. It is us women. Men are not doing it. Unfortunately, our Black men are getting gunned down. The white men are feeling like their lives are about to be turned upside down, whatever way. Don't ask me why, because you've been privileged and getting it all to this point. So all of a sudden you just think your life is just going in. So they lost cause, just keeping it real. So I think it's the white women who they're starting to see, like our Aaron yesterday, who was able to say, I didn't realize how multidimensional the Black people are in their culture. Like, she had to hold back tears, and she's older, and just so it's the folks like Aaron's who see Tiffany, because that's how she saw Tiffany, and she was like, "Oh, Tiffany, can you help school me?" And Tiffany was like, "No, you go and school yourself, girl." And then we can have a conversation. But it was so much more rewarding for Erin because she was able to do the work. Right. And then she was her eyes were able to open up more. And then she was able to dig more and dig more. And then she was able to come on our show and have a conversation about it. So it's the likes of Tiffany's and Erin's who have us, who can be like, okay, go, yeah, because I'm about to stand on your shoulders now, okay? I need you to lead the way. Yes. I'm here for you. And I think that's where the change is going to really happen.
No, I totally agree with that. And I mean, Tiffany, I commend you for, like I said, you weren't born here. So for you to even be as passionate about seeing this change in this country, that's amazing. But then I also know, again, that's a lot. Just like we have been carrying this ball, we're used to it. We've been carrying this for a hot minute, but you're new to the game. So how do you feel knowing that?
It's kind of like, I have to, there's no choice. It's just like, it pulls me. It's like the day that Tee-Ta and I met and had that conversation was kind of like the day that changed everything for me personally. And I turned to her and I said, we got to bring this out. Everybody needs to hear these types of conversations. I'm willing to be the naive, stupid white girl and put myself out there so other naive white girls can put themselves out there and start having the conversation. So, we put it on hold. It started back in 2018 and then life happened for both of us, and we put it on hold, and then both simultaneously at the same time went, okay, we got to do this, right? So it's kind of like this thing of like, I have to do it, so I have to learn how to do it for the long run. And again, it was all my Black friends, sisters, brothers, my boyfriend that went, Tiffany, it's a marathon. Slow down, breathe. Like when George Floyd happened, I cried every day for I swear to God, nearly a month, every day, every single day. I still cry about it. I'm getting teary now. And that is good because I'm feeling it, It's when white people are so good at, I think humans are, but white people are like, oh, that's happening over there. That's horrific. Oh my God, that's happening over there. And when we can really see that, yes, that's happening over there, that's humanity we're talking about. If you're not feeling that, if you're not being disrupted by that, if you're not aching over that, then what hope have we got?
I totally agree. And I think you hit it on the head because a lot of people have been talking about how George Floyd was the tipping point. And I definitely feel like 2020 is the year of revelation. Like 2020 is the year all the curtains get pulled back, everything. Now we're all here. We can't go anywhere with COVID. So you have no choice but to be tuned into what's going on. And I love the fact that you are able to mention how it's pulling you. That's that conviction. And it'll keep you going. What can I do to help support you guys on the journey? Because I love what you're doing. I love your passion. I love the fact that you're having these conversations and that you are trying to have real conversations, not fluffy ones.
Right.
Well, you already are. Like, you're already contributing and helping just by interviewing us. And we're normally, you get it, we're normally the interviewers, right? So to be the interviewer is great. we're all in this together. Like you, Pam, Tee-Ta, people like me, we're in this together. So the more, as women, the more we can promote each other, support each other, not see each other as a competition or a threat or any of those things, and just keep remembering that we get to change. It's our time. We get to change this. So how do we come together, have the conversation, support one another, like go out to lunch, you know, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
That is what I think, you know, we get so caught up in the bigness of like, oh, I've got to run for whatever, government, whatever, right? Like we think it's so big and I've got to get hundreds of thousands of followers and I've got to do this and I've got to be a nonprofit and I've got to do this. But it can be this simple. Just start. And that's what our podcast is about. Just start with a conversation. So
yes, I love that. I really do. Tee-Ta, what about you? Is there anything I can do to support you? Because you're more local. I would love to go.
Yes. No, I mean, Tiffany summed it up very well. Just the fact that you've recognized what we're doing in our efforts and brought us to your table to reach your audience is supporting us. I think that it's always good to hear from different perspectives. We say, it's planting seeds, and it's just like we can plant one seed, and then that seed will germinate, and then provides more seed, and then that seed will germinate. So we can just plant one seed to germinate change, perspectives, and shifts. That's what we're all about. Like she said, we don't need this whole like big old platform or to be popular. We prefer to be influential in our purpose to really make a difference. And Pam, to have us on your show is very supportive because you're aligning our purpose with, your purpose. And then it's going to make a drastic difference in the long scheme of things, like even in the marathon of things. Like somebody might see this, 8 months, hear it or see it 8 months from now and have a drastic shift in their life. So that is how you're supporting. And I know how to reach you. If there's something else comes up, I'm gonna be like, Pam, I think this is what you need to do. I saw your name all over it, so I want to support you too. So you let me know how I can be there for you as well, because we're all in this together, and being together, we're gonna. I know change is going to happen, and it might seem impossible right now, but if you break apart the impossible, you got impossible,
Absolutely.
So I just, or I'm possible, sorry, because I am, but I'm possible.
We got you. We got you.
You understand what I'm saying? Yes.
We did.
Yes.
We felt the juju. No, I do. I love having the opportunity to connect. I truly believe that women are the foundation of society. So I love what you two ladies are doing, because I agree. I think it's going to take all of us, not relying on the government, but us, to really get the change that we're looking for. One final thing that I love to ask, well, actually I have two final questions. Here's the first one. For each of you, what is one thing that you would want people to know about each of you?
Ooh.
Just one thing.
Cool.
One thing. Oh.
One thing.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing.
Hey, I'm quirky.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'm quirky too.
Oh, one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need a two black quirky and a white girl podcast show.
I know. Okay. Yeah. You can make it happen.
Sorry, Tiffany. I was just thinking like, that would be interesting.
I don't know why I'm finding this such a hard question. I'm just going to go super simple, and I actually talk about this often, but I'm a self-proclaimed addict. I'm an ocean addict.
You're an ocean addict? You just have to be at the ocean all the time.
All the time, but I live in the middle of Texas. It's really hard. It's really hard. It's a 3-hour drive. So I'm getting used to lake life, which is good.
Okay. That's good. That's nice though. I love water too. So see, that's why there's symbiote. The symbiote between us is. I felt that. I really did. So my last and final question is, where can my audience find you? Because I want everyone to listen to your podcast, share it. Because if we don't start having these real conversations, we are going to stay stuck. And ladies, I want y'all to help us get unstuck.
Thank you. And we're laughing because we get this. This is how unpolished and raw we are. Like at the end of every podcast, I say to Tee-Ta, because I do the intro, she does the outro. Okay, where can people find us? And she never knows. Well, she does know.
I do know.
All our things, our ducks in a row.
Yeah, it's because after the conversation, like my brain is already like, and then she's like, where can you find us? And I'm like, what you mean? In my chair in Orlando, that's where you can find me. But, wait, that's right. What are we talking about? So
unprofessional.
Please, I love this.
Okay, so you can find us at Conversations with a Black Girl and a White Girl.com.
Okay. It's blackgirlwhiteGirlconversations.com.
See? This is why'd you ask me to do it? And so audience, listen, we are going to change it so that I did get the domain to Conversations with a Black Girl and a White Girl. Because see, I always say it, but that's not what it is right now. Right now, what it is a Black Girl, White Girl Conversations.com. A Black Girl, a White Girl Conversations.com. And when you go there, you can get to our YouTube channel, you can get to our iTunes or our Spotify. Instagram. But our Instagram is a Black Girl, a White Girl.
White girl.
Okay, and for the audience, I will have all of that listed in the show notes. So you do not have to worry about it. I will have it covered because we're going to follow you. We'll figure out where you're at, and then we will follow you. Because we want to support y'all. You guys are doing great work. I definitely will I would like for us to connect again as well, because obviously I don't think these conversations are going to stop before November 3rd or after. We'll see how it all goes. But I hope we have more of a time to connect, because this has been one of the funnest interviews I've done.
Yeah, we can go from laugh to.
I like that. Just totally mix it up.
And two. Okay, really quick, Pam. I know you're trying to wrap up. So this is how we can go funny. I don't know if you guys go to our Instagram, you will see a post about Tiffany trying to get into our email system. And it told her that she didn't have privilege to get in. And then I went in.
Access to
admin. And I said, but I see that you're in. And she's like, but I said, I see that you're in. Are you sure you're not in? She's like, no, I don't have access privilege. And she's like, but I'm white. I don't understand. And I just like, oh my God, that is because that
was hilarious, honey. I was gonna say you better get that white privilege on the email.
Yes, I was like, in the moment when you see the text response, it's funny and it makes sense because we took a screenshot of it. But those are also like funnies we have. Like we don't believe in white privilege, but it's just how you got to stay human with it at times, and just the way how it's so stressful to. Being a Black person living with the white privilege, and even Tiffany seeing how white privilege has damage. So just to kind of see that, and she's like, but I'm white, I should have privilege to anything, just shows how idiotic the whole thought process behind white supremacy, So
I know that ended a little bit weird. Unfortunately, my Zoom decided that it was not going to let me be great and be able to end the podcast the way that I really wanted to. So I'm going to take this time to say thank you to Tee-Ta and Tiffany for blessing me with their time, their energy. I learned so much in that moment speaking to them, because it just reminded me of the power of staying open and the power of conversations. For them to be able to build such a beautiful connection off of a tough conversation about race. I mean, I don't know many people that form friendships over just meeting and talking about racial issues. But I love the fact that they're so open and that they're leveraging their friendship to help educate us, to help continue to create safe spaces for women and for people in general to talk about hard conversations, because we're going to be the ones to bring about that change. Like I mentioned in the interview, I think the power of it is going to start with us as women having those conversations and growing those conversations throughout society. We are the change that we seek. So I love the opportunity to be able to learn from other people and grow together. I do also want to put one disclaimer. I forgot when I was talking about the Orlando Massacre. The Orlando Massacre actually did occur on November the 2nd and 3rd, through the 3rd, in 1920 in Ocoee, Florida. And when I mentioned about a Black person voting, it actually refers to how in 1981, that was no African American residents had settled in Ocoee after the Ocoee massacre until approximately 61 years later in 1981. So I wanted to make sure I clear it up, because I think it's important that we share our history, but we share it correctly. And you are also able to research that information on your own. So I want to say thank you again, like I said, for listening, for hopefully growing and learning. Thank you, Tee-Ta and Tiffany. And until we talk again next week, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.